Can everybody please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notification of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the record and posting notice of this meeting in Borough Hall and the Superintendent's office. I hereby call to order the public meeting of the Little Ferry Board of Education, Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 7:05 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Bertoli.
Here.
Mrs. Patel.
Here.
Mr. Fitros.
Here.
Mrs. Gottlieb.
Here.
Mr. Mealy.
Here.
Mr. Lasuzo.
Here.
Mr. Borisek.
Here.
Mr. Benelli.
Here.
Mrs. Bradley.
Here.
Ms. Augustine.
Here.
And we have a forum.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the Little Ferry Board of Education approves the minutes of the regular public meeting held on September 12th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Motion. Second? Second.
Okay, Mrs. Bertoli.
Yes.
Mrs. Patel.
Yes.
Mr. Fitros.
Yes.
Mrs. Gottlieb. Well, I'll check the records. Mr. Mealy.
Yes.
Mr. Lasuzo.
Yes.
Mr. Borisek.
Yes.
Mr. Benelli.
Yes.
Mrs. Bradley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll now open it up to Mr. Carapato for his superintendent's report.
All right, good evening. We have a pretty jam-packed agenda today, which is being highlighted by our new middle school project presentation, our students of the month, and also our NJSLA ELM presentation. To start the meeting first, a new member on the dais right now, we have Kara Augustine, who's going to be our 24-25 student representative this year. So I'd like to give her a round of applause. And she will be doing her State of the Student report a little later on this evening. Now for the September Students of the Month, I believe see one. I believe it's two as well. Arson. Our grade 6 September Student of the Month is Isra Dahan. Yeah. Isra was chosen as September Student of the Month in 6th grade, and the teachers at your grade level had the following things to say about you. She goes above and beyond to help others in need. She is a role model. She is kind-hearted and eager to learn and motivated. She took a new student under her wing to help translate this year. Congratulations, Isra. Evan? We are. All right. So we're going to start with the new middle school presentation to give a brief update on the progress of really post-referendum, right? Post March 12th. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening for the update. But this update wouldn't be possible if I didn't first recognize a few of our major partners here in helping us secure some additional funding for the project for the new middle school. At this time, I'd like to call up Mayor Rugusio, Assemblywoman Lisa Swain, and Assemblyman Chris Tully to come up. Stand right over here by the podium. The unwavering support and collaboration we have received from these four individuals have been so important to the future of our district. It is difficult for me to find the words to express my sincere gratitude. For those of you who don't know, thanks to their advocacy in Trenton, these individuals have helped award our additional $5 million towards our construction of the new middle school. In addition to this initial allocation, there are also future opportunities that we are seeking for more funding towards this project, looking for their support. We'd like to send our heartfelt thanks and honor with a small token of our appreciation. Yes. I'm going to read the plaque real quick. On behalf of the students, staff, and the entire community, the Little Ferry Board of Education extends a heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to these three individuals for your tireless efforts and dedication in securing additional funding for the Little Ferry Public Schools. Your commitment has made a lasting impact on the future of our students and has brought us one step closer to the completion of our new middle school. Your hard work will continue to shape the education and the lives of our students for generations to come. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Before we take a quick minute, I want to give them the floor if they want to say a few words.
Well, first, thank you very much to the superintendent, to the board. We really appreciate this. I want to thank our assembly members, Lisa Swain and Chris Tully. Lisa was the mayor of Fair Lawn, and Chris was a councilman in Bergenfield. So when they became our assembly members in January of this year, because we were in a different district, and then we moved to the 38th district in January. And of course, we've known each other for many years, but one of our first encounters, I told them about some of the needs that we have here. And as a former mayor and councilman, they understand the balance of providing a great education and great educational facilities for our children, at the same time, the burden that puts on the taxpayers at times, and why there is a need for state aid. And as soon as we told them about the problem, they went to work. Senator Joe Lagana, another great guy, who was one of my first phone calls. He can't be here today, but I'm sure he'll be here soon. He's got roots in Little Ferry. His mother actually went to school here at Washington School. So when we brought him in, we gave him a tour of the site, and he has also understood the great need. So I am so thankful that we have this great legislative team, that when I pick up the phone and we need some help, they're there for us. $5 million goes a long way. I know that there's a commitment to continue to help, and I'll keep calling and every year. And that goes a long way in reducing the burden on the taxpayers, because as we all know, this school is very much needed. And it is something that we're all looking forward to. Kudos to the board and to their team, and to the superintendent, not only for all the time and effort they put into this and the research and the studying, but also for making this open and transparent. And that was my request at the beginning of your tenure, Mr. Superintendent. I said, well, as we go through this process, we have to make sure that the public is informed every step of the way. And so that way, collectively together, we can support this. And certainly the voters supported the referendum in March. And I know that there's a lot of excitement, and we can't wait to get a shovel in the ground and to build this. So again, thank you to you and to the board. And heartfelt thanks to our great legislative team. We are blessed that you will represent us in Trenton. And we thank you for all you have done and will continue to do for Little Ferry. So thank you so much.
Thank you to all of the board members for this. Chris and I and Joe, usually we're the ones handing out proclamations and certificates, so it's really very special for us, for me, to receive this, so thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for all of your work. This is something that we really have a lot of gratitude for being able to get this money for this town, especially as your new representatives. And I'm sure you can imagine, we now represent 16 towns and everybody needs something. But Joe and Chris and myself, we fight very hard for our district. And one of the things that we're so proud of is all the money that we're able to bring back to our district. And you just heard the mayor explain, like every dollar that we're able to bring back to District 38, to Little Ferry, to our towns, reduces the tax burden on the residents. So that's why we fight so hard. We know how important affordability is to everyone, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to have a little impact on that affordability in your town. So thank you again, and I'll wait for that next phone call.
I just want to also say thank you so much, Superintendent, to the board. I've run for a lot of offices in my life. One position I would never run for is a school board. The hardest, most thankless position. So thank you for all of your work, and thank you for all you do for the Little Ferry and for our merciful precious resource, our children, which is what this money was. This is what we were advocating for down in Trenton, and you have the best mayor, not only in Bergen County, but in the state of New Jersey. Morrow, the council, the second that we became your representatives in Little Ferry, he was on the phone to us. He knows this town, he knows the issues, and he knew exactly what you needed. So we were so happy to deliver. We were so happy to advocate on your behalf. As you said, Mayor, we're going to work every year to make sure that Little Ferry and every town in District 38 gets their fair share, because you give a lot to our county, to our state. We want to make sure that we deliver back for you. So we're so honored to be here tonight. This is such an amazing evening, and we look forward to the presentation, all the hard work that you put in. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna pivot for 2 seconds. I saw leave our 8th grade student of the month walked in. So, yeah. Oh, you're behind on it. Okay, so our 8th grade student of the month is Arniel Santos. The teachers of 8th grade had this to say about Arniel. He's a mild-mannered, very respectful student. He is naturally gifted in music and always brings much ability and enthusiasm to a music class. He is a hard worker and helps his fellow students and always strives to do his very, very best. Congratulations, Arniel. Hey, Sophia's she's not here?
She's not here.
Okay, well, I think you at least deserve to hear what the 5th grade teachers and 7th grade teachers rather had to say about her. So Sophia Calero was the 7th grade student of the month, and her teachers had the following things to say about Sophia. She's very helpful. She is dedicated to her studies. She is respectful to her teachers and her peers. She's attentive in class when completing assignments. We couldn't be more proud. Congratulations. Okay. So we're going to start our brief presentation regarding the new middle school. Before I do so, before we kick it off, with us on the dais today, we have Connor O'Brien from Legacy. We have Ralph Walker from RSC Architects, and we have Mr. Pico, our middle school principal. Okay, so we will kick off our presentation.
Hi, everybody. So before the presentation, I'm sorry to turn this into a love fest, but the passing of this bond referendum was the blood, sweat, and tears of a lot of people, and I just want to take a quick minute to thank a few people. First, the borough of Little Ferry, thank you for trusting us, and thank you for voting yes on this bond referendum. This is going to be a building that students absolutely need, and they're going to enjoy for the next century. So a heartfelt thank you on behalf of this board, the administrations, the students, and the staff. Thank you to my board. There are a few veterans on this board who had a vision of this new school since Superstorm Sandy. And I want to thank each and every one of you for entrusting me to be your president during this once-in-a-lifetime project and once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So a heartfelt thank you for trusting me. The board also knew that this was a major project and that we would have to build a solid foundation for us to be able to even make this the success that it was. And when the open superintendent position was available, I mean, Mr. Carapato and Mr. Gomez bringing you in as the business administrator, you two have been the absolute foundation of this project. And I don't think anybody here truly understands the depth of work that's involved in this type of project. The undertaking is absolutely massive. And this board wants to thank the both of you from the bottom of our hearts. Without you, this would not have happened. Here. Thank you to Laura Bishop Communications, especially Christine, who's over here. You have been our. Thank you for providing us with all of the information that we needed to make sure that this was a success, and to Mayor Rubicio's point, to make sure that we were as transparent as possible, which I think we were. Thank you. Also, thank you to Bianca and Laura. And of course, last but not least, Ralph Walker at RSC Architects, who has been diligently working as of March 13th. We partied a little on the 12th, but we were meant to work on the 13th. Just thank you to you and your entire team. And I know Chris isn't here, but thank you to Chris, thank you to Dana, and thank you to Philippe. We meet every 2 weeks to make sure that this project is on task. These meetings are extensive, and we are beyond grateful for everything. We're looking forward to a new, beautiful building. Thank you, Ralph. So I'm excited to share some highlights and our progress. If we want to switch to the next slide, please. This is my absolute favorite slide of the entire deck. And during the referendum process, you guys spoke and we absolutely listened. If we're looking at the deck right now, we'll see that thanks to the additional funding by our Assemblyman, Assemblywoman, State Senator, and Mayor Rubio, and alongside the interest rate that we secured, which was actually lower than we anticipated, we were able to decrease the tax impact by $110 a year. It's a significant decrease, and we also want to mention that this is in addition to the debt service aid that was unlocked with the approval of the bond referendum. I also do want to point out that the $5 million provided to us by the state will not make this a bigger project. We unanimously decided that we want to ensure that $5 million goes directly back to the taxpayers, and that it goes towards the debt relief, not to increase the budget of the project. This is especially huge for this board because we've expressed our commitment during the referendum process that we would fight tirelessly to find additional funding, and I believe that we're doing that, and rest assured that we are not going to stop here. So we promise just to continue our efforts and ensure that we offset the costs to our taxpayers. So if you notice on the bond referendum, we voted for roughly 38 million, but now with the state's additional 5 million, our bond is 32. All right, the next slide is sort of a continuation of the last slide, but this breaks down monthly. I'm sure many of you recognize this deck, or this slide rather, where we had originally shared the average that an average assessable will pay per month based on the bond, the sale of the bond, and what was originally about $50 a month has been reduced to $41. So again, we're working hard to chip away. This is just broken down by month. Now I'd like to introduce Ralph Walker from RSC Architects to talk us through the process and what we've accomplished so far.
Thank you, and thank you to the board and superintendent. I just want to reiterate, we started with Love Fest, but we continue to say it's a true pleasure to work with such a hardworking board, such a hardworking administration. So it's been a real pleasure from the get-go. And as we said previously, we have been working on this essentially the day after the referendum. So we're excited with where we're at. So let me give you a few updates. First on the process. The Board of Education selected legacy and to be the construction manager for this project. They're an active partner in this project with us. So RSC is your architect. We have engineers and designers as part of our process. Legacy helps manage the expectations of schedule and budget, keep us on task. So it's a great partnership. We're happy to have it. We've also been coordinating with local police and fire departments. A big part of the process here is making sure this building is as safe as possible, not just the first day that it opens, but for the next 50 to 100 years. And they've been great partners as well. We've worked with food service superintendent folks in terms of the planning of the cafeteria. We're very excited about the lunch. We're excited about all meals. So I think you're gonna have a great experience in our cafeteria. And we have been working with a number of other departments at the county and state level, including going through the process of utilities, working for county sewer connection, working with New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, for all of those applications filed and we're actually at a schedule one, happy to say. And then we've been working through the evaluation on the design. One of the things that you've heard about before, and I know you're all familiar with, is some of the challenges of the site we're dealing with, include issues related to stormwater management. And a big part of the design is evaluating the flood preparedness building should be well prepared, be elevated above the floodplain, and will have a high level of preparation overall built into the design to start. In addition, we're also looking at furniture and technology requirements for projects, looking at the number of vendors, both the district has already been working with and bringing some other people to the table to evaluate technology there. And then most importantly, we're watching it. And I will reiterate the word in your administration has been extremely diligent in terms of doing very carefully throughout the process. Let's get into some of the features of the projects. You can go to the next slide. So this is kind of a long list of items. We'll show you some pictures in just a minute that explain a little bit more about the building. But one of the things in designing a middle school for not just today, but for the next 50 to 100 years, is that there's a lot of different features that we consider in the process. And most importantly is what is the student experience. So when we're looking at the design of the building, we're thinking about things like how do we make sure that the entry is both welcoming but also secure? How do we make sure that the community has opportunities for not just athletics, but for observation, to sit in the environment? We're making classrooms future ready, making sure that they're designed for technology, not just today, but tomorrow. Designing in dedicated science labs, dedicated special rooms for art and music, and then creating common areas to create community connection throughout the building. In addition, we're also being careful about how does this building fit within the community. And part of that design is about setting the building back from the street, having a safe drop-off area, an area where students can wait for beginning and end of school start or finish, outdoor gathering areas, and even your rooftop preparation. We'll go to the next slide. I'll show you an image of the exterior of the building. So this is what the building would look like once it's completed across the street. And again, we're excited about the opportunity here. What you're seeing is the classroom wing of the building over the entry there. You'll notice that the building itself is elevated. We've got an elevated plinth where students will enter and exit from the building. That's set up higher for floodplain, and it's also set up higher for safety and security. On the right-hand side of the building, you see the gymnasium that's at the end of the rendering. That gymnasium is a private entry as well. Allow for special events like something like that. So this is a great review of what we're going to see. Some of the things that you may experience when you interior the building would be some of the updated classrooms. These are examples of built classrooms that are similar to scale and similar types of furniture that have been completed. So you'll see clean, refreshed classrooms, integrated technology, improved lighting, flexible furniture, lots of other companies there. And as we move through the building, we also have some really exciting spaces. So for instance, our rooftop, go to that, we have a rooftop recreation area, which is the equivalent of a basketball court with a turf finish on top of the gymnasium. Really amazing opportunity for schools to use for athletics and for after school activities. Thought of a great community. So we're excited about the opportunity that the school has invested In terms of process, where we're at right now is we're wrapping up the design currently. We are going through a number of state agency reviews, so we have a review with the Office of State Comptroller. We finished up a part Department of Education review, and we're continuing to move forward with local county reviews, at the City Board, oil and water, and some oil agency. We expect to bid in January 2025, and that means that we will start to see construction across the street really later in the winter of 25 or early spring. So once bids come in, they're awarded, contractors will be starting to appear on site, start to see trucks showing up, start to be put this building up. We are very excited. And we expect the projects to continue through spring of 2025 and on. We are working towards completion really as soon as possible, as everyone at this table continues to remind all of us to move forward as quickly as possible. But we are anticipating middle school being by 20. And you want to move to the timeline overall. Again, we started here in March before and tax. We move forward with the design immediately. We're going to be going to bid at the end of this year, and then construction will take us through 25, 26. So I'll throw it back to the
Thank you.
Michelle? All right, everybody, so we encourage you to stay up to date on our progress via our website. It's www.lfboe.org/littleferryfuture. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. I'm not sure if we're on anything else, but we do plan to post photos there. We'll post more on social media, and we plan to give another update as soon as we have more information to share, and we'll advertise it the same way that we did for this meeting. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, grab Mr. Parapato in the hallway, talk to Mr. Gomez, talk to your board members. Otherwise, thank you very much. All right, we'll take about 5 or 10 minutes and open it up to any questions. If anybody has any questions, comments. Oh, Mr. Rand, coming up.
Good evening, Don Durant, 16 Sabine Street. First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Education and the council. It's really fun for this year. I just have a question, and I'm glad I attended this meeting and all of here. It was 10 million that was supposed to be secured, so we did get 5. You're working on getting us the 5 million for next year?
We requested 10 million.
You did request
Five
that.
was what was be done this year. And we're told that we'll make another request for additional funding.
Our goal is every year during the budget process is we have that efficient costs. There's a lot of requests that goes on, but, as the mayor said, it's obviously a situation where we're going to recognize the situation, so we're going to be continuing to make those efforts. So we're going to try to get that full contribution during the next budget cycle.
And you two still will remain in your seat, you're not up for re-election, you right?
That's up to the voters, but yeah, let's not do it, they will be.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah,
We're up for re-election
Oh.
next year, so.
okay.
For us, and we'll get you another.
No, what I'll be campaigning. I'd like to turn my question to the gentleman on the end. The DEP, I know you did submit the application, can you give me an update on it, please?
Yeah, we submitted the application. We did a series of calls with the DEP to review projects. Today, we've got the comments from the DEP to these with the submission. So
You
as
received no comments
had-
on?
we had a direct call with them to review the project, and there were no technical comments provided.
Yeah,
We don't anticipate response.
okay, and as far as going up to the flood plain to build up, how high are we going again?
So we will be 1 foot above the high water line, which is approximately 5 feet above the current grade. To 6 feet above the current grade. So from the sidewalk outside, it will be approximately 6 feet higher to the first classroom, to the classroom.
Could you be told by the other powers that be to go up higher?
It's worked against the flood maps, there are submitted maps. That are- If it was cheap.
But if there is changes, you will definitely, by law, have to go on, correct?
No, that's not how that works. If we submitted the plans, they've been approved, the construction is done, then we would continue based on maps. But our expectations, maps not change, maps under being reviewed years ago, after Sandy and other things. It's my understanding there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Great, we're gonna take a brief recess.
Presentation.
Be it resolved that the Little Ferry Board of Education determines it is necessary to meet an executive session on Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 7:48 PM to discuss matters of personnel, negotiations, and litigation. And be it further resolved that these matters will be made public when confidentiality no longer exists.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. We'll now open it up to Mr. Dunn for his, oh. Want to read this?
Okay.
I know, like, it was before Karen.
All right, I should. All right, at this point, at this time, we're gonna have Kara Augustine do her, state of the students report. Kara?
Good evening. My name is participated in the on October 11th, we had a first ceremony featuring representatives from various high schools. On October 11th, little Ferry students participated. We would like to thank the PE department for organizing the event. I was leading first for the message, the student from the field, and the PTA. This concludes all updates regarding the students. Thank you again.
Great job, Karen, and I apologize again for making you wait. If I could do it over again, I would probably have to go off the meeting, but I live and I learn. Mr. Reynolds, thank you for putting it together and getting stuff with me. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will call Mr. Dunn up for the NJSLA and the DLM presentation. Stop.
Yeah, you're welcome to go home.
You're welcome to stay and you're welcome to leave, but
It's won't be offended if.
you're or at any point, you can just go, it's fine.
I will be. Thank you so much. So this presentation is on the NJSLA and the DLM results. So the DLM is the dynamic learning map, which is given to students with special needs. It is generally 1% or less of our student population. It's given to those only with severe cognitive disabilities, and specifically intended for those students who cannot participate in general assessments due to their disabilities. The NJSLA, or New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, is given to all students grades 3 through 11, and 3 through 8 for us, in English, language arts, mathematics, and science in grades 3, 8, and 11. And it is an assessment to see if students have met the expectations of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. So those will be the portions. We'll talk about the DLM, NJSLA, and then what are our next. So the DLM. As I went through, the purpose of it is for those with severe cognitive disabilities, and it is meant to be accessible to those students. It is an adaptive assessment that begins with a survey by the teacher, so that it starts with students at their appropriate placement, and then they're able to work their way through the test. 12 students, both in district and out of district from Little Ferry took that in grades 3 through 8. Grades 2 through 8 take the math, grades 5 and 8 take science. I can't disaggregate the data further than this because any student population less than 10, we can't report. So if I tell you who did well, who passed, who didn't, it'll drop under 10. I can't talk about it further, but we were pleased with our student performance and did see increases in our students who have taken it over the course of the past 3 years. All right, NJSLA. So a little bit about it. There's 5 levels that you can earn in ELA and math, from level 1 through level 5. Level 1 being did not meet expectations, level 5 being exceeded expectations, and the goal being level 4 or 5, that's met or exceeded. Subject areas are English language arts and math 3 through 8, and in grades 5 through 8, science. Science has a different scale. It's levels 1 through 4, and anything greater than level 3 is considered passing. The assessment is then broken down by the different subgroups, those being gender, ethnicity, students with disabilities, multilingual learners, and economically disadvantaged. All right, so let's start with some celebrations. 100% of our Algebra 1 students passed the state test. That is 60% higher than the state average of 39. Yeah, we can. In grades 3, 4, 6, and 8 math, our met or exceeded scores increased from the previous year. Grades 4 and 6 went up from the previous year in ELA, and overall our math scores are trending upward with increases of 5% per year. Whereas Ms. Laterza told me the technical math term would be 13% of the yada yada yada. He went into a lot of math. All right, so how did we do? I'm going to give an overview of our scores from 2019 through 2024, so pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. We'll go over ELA, math and science with the current year, a comparison across the years, comparison of cohort to cohort, meaning apples to apples, not apples to oranges, and then the demographics of each. So here's a graphic of our performance overall. So to the left, you'll see 2019, and then you'll see a gap, so that's pre-pandemic, and it goes blue, yellow, green for ELA, math, and science. So you can see where we were pre-pandemic and where we are now. So we have taken a dip post-pandemic, as the majority of the state and country has. But some things we're proud of in particular is math, is that increase, and you can see on that line graph that it is trending upward. ELA took a little bit of a dip this past year, going down slightly, and then science has been pretty steady at around that 16 to 20% over the course of the past 3 years. Something to note are our district transfer rates. We're having a lot of students move to Little Ferry. It's a very popular town right now. So a little bit of the timeline of that. In 22-23, we had 78 new students to the district, 37 of which were multilingual learners, 15 of which those multilingual learners started after January 1st. That means if you start after January 1st, you're taking the 2023 NJSLA and you're taking the ELA assessment the following year. You're not truly getting that 1 year of acclimating to the United States and to this country, because if you run, the cutoff is July 1st of that school year. So it's really not fair to the students, but that's how the state does it. Last year, 23-24, we had 82 new students, 38 of them multilingual learners, 15 after January 1st, and again, those students immediately take the 2024 math and are then set to take the 2025 ELA. And this year we're at 59 already. It is October 17th. 17 of those students are multilingual learners, and that means all those students will take the math assessment this year and will then take the ELA the following. Roughly 40% of our multilingual learners are arriving after January 1st. It puts them at a disadvantage. We have an amazing ESL department, but when students start middle of the year and then have 2 to 3 to maybe 4 months before they're taking the state test, they're only starting to acquire that language. So it's something to really, a lot of our students are coming with interrupted education, so they are traveling in order to reach the United States. So there's a gap in their education. That's what's considered interrupted education. And then they're having limited instructional time because they just arrived. And then they don't get that true full year of exemption because of that July 1st cutoff date. All right, so let's jump into ELA. So again, you can see our scores from 2019 to 2024 and how we perform district-wide. It's just another bar graph to be able to see this. This is just our passing scores, level 4 or higher. This is a breakdown of each grade level. So the way this will work is blue is great. That is exceeds expectations. Green is good. That means you met. Yellow is approaching. Orange is slightly, or no, I'm sorry. Yellow is just below benchmark. Orange is approaching, and red is below benchmark. So when you look from left to right, it'll go grade 3 to grade 8, and then also on the right-hand side, I have the comparison to the state. So you can see how we scored at each grade level, we can also compare it to the state. So in ELA, 3 of the 6 grade levels outperformed the state of New Jersey. And of the other ones, they were very close. Grade 7 was the lowest of those. What is a good thing to see, and what you can start to see in this graphic, is how there are less and less level 1s and level 2s, and I think that's attributed to the work that all of our teachers have done over the past 3 years, in really addressing the intervention needs of our most struggling learners and those who are just below benchmark. So there's 1s and 2s are moving into 3s, and our goal this year is to move those 3s to a 4 or past. A little bit of a comparison. This is apples to oranges. This is how grade levels have performed year to year from 2019 to 2024. On the right-hand side, you'll see the current year's percentages. So you can see where we started in 2019 and where we are today. I do say this is apples to oranges because this is just grade 3 scores to grade 3 scores. It's not the cohort. The next slide will show that cohort. So it could be a good group moving from year to year who's going to perform highly as they move up, or one that has struggled. When you look at the cohort comparison, this is something we're very proud of. We're seeing increases as our students are moving up. So grade 3 is their first year taking it. We don't have any previous data for them to look at. Grade 4, you can see an increase from year to year. Grade 5 has increased every year that they've taken the assessment. Grade 6 went down just a touch. Grade 7 maintained where they were at, and grade 8 went down a little bit. We generally see that in grade 8, and the state overall, grade 8 is generally the lowest performing assessment results. They got their eyes on this. Breaking down the demographics, from left to right, you have male, female, Asian, Black, Hispanic. If it has an NA, that means the student population is under 10 for Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, white, or 2 or more races. So you can see how students are performing with in each of the subgroups. The next demographic breaks down our students with IEPs, students with 504s, our current multilingual learners, former multilingual learners, and students who are economically disadvantaged. Next is a breakdown of our lowest performing groups. Again, it's apples to oranges, looking at over the course of years. But our students who are Black, you see that the passing percentages have gone down slightly this past year at ELA. Students with IEP, there's been a decrease each year. And multilingual learners, you saw a little bit of a decrease as well. That is attributed, as I started the presentation, to our students moving in middle of the year and not getting that true full year of exemption. And as that has dramatically increased over the past 2 years, especially last year. On to math. You can see just a bar graph form that was on the line graph before, our data of overall for the district passing. Nice upward curve. This is a breakdown of all the grades. So again, left to right, you have grade 3 to grade 8 algebra, that beautiful green and blue all the way to the right. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the comparison versus the state of New Jersey. And out of the 7 of them, we outperformed the state. We were close on quite a few. Again, you notice 8th grade being the lowest, but the state average also being the lowest. This is our apples to oranges. This is our performance at each grade level year to year. You do see growth year to year, which is nice. You go grade 3, 4, a little bit of a dip in 5, which I'll talk more about shortly. An increase in grade 6, grade 7, a slight decrease in grade 8, maintaining about the same, and algebra going up. That dotted line that you see, that's our overall goal. Our long-term goal is to hit 75% passing or 3/4. This is our apples to apples comparison of how our students did against one another. So grade 3, it's their first time taking it. Grade 4 maintained where they were at, no additional students. Grade 5 decreased. Grade 5 had 19 new students last year, 9 of which were multilingual learners. And that attributes to it. And there were also students who moved out who had passed the test previously. We also had approximately 15 students who had previously passed the NJSLA in math, not passed. So what we have done is we've specifically targeted those students who have passed in the past, some of the tests, to provide them additional intervention both before school or during the school day. Here's the demographic breakdown. Other demographics from IEP to economically disadvantaged. And then a breakdown of our lowest performing groups. So we broke it down into four. Our black student population has seen an increase overall, which is lovely to see. Our Hispanic population has also increased. It's also our largest subgroup overall, but it's been increasing. Our students with IEPs have remained about the same at that 5 to 7%, and we've seen that decrease in MLLs. Again, that's why I started our presentation talking about how we're having more students coming in middle of the year or at times a month before they're taking the test. Science. Here's a breakdown of the performance pre-pandemic to today. Numbers inside are a little bit wrong. So in 2019, we were not at 16%. I apologize. We're about 23%. So 19 and 24 should be flipped. So you can see where we were and where we are going. Here's a breakdown. It's just 5 and 8. It doesn't have the district overall, but a breakdown of those percentages. So you can see a big chunk of the kiddos in that just below passing, and you can see on the right side the comparison to the state. So in grade 5, 27% approximately passed across the state of New Jersey. We are at almost 20%, and in grade 8, 18% passed, and we were at close to 13%. So the state overall has been performing, has been struggling in their performances in science. The state of New Jersey has noted that and is changing the way they're calculating the QSAC scores, where science will be worth less percentage points in comparison to ELA and math, because that's taken every year. In addition, our science teachers have gone through each of the standards. We don't get a lot of data back on these performances. We get told how they did in life science, physical science, and earth science, which are gigantically broad categories. But we've been breaking down how students have performed individually, as well as looking at ways to integrate the practice tests into the curriculum seamlessly. Here's a breakdown of our performances over the course of the past 3 years. So we can see where we were at 2019 and where we are today. A breakdown of the demographics. And the same breakdown for grade 8. All right, so what are the next steps? There's a lot of data, a lot of numbers I've thrown at you. So what are we doing with this data? So there's a three-pronged approach. We're going through a deep dive into data analysis. We formed a data team to do so. We have a multi-tiered system of student supports, or MTSS, and we have a variety of interventions for all of our learners. All right, so data analysis. So boom, more numbers out. So this is a data lab. This is something we created over the summer and have been analyzing with our data team. It breaks down the students' names are blanked out, but it will break down all of their scores overall, both in our benchmark assessment, which is iReady, how they placed in those, how they performed in last year's NJSLA, how they performed in iReady, what their reading levels are, and what their previous year's scores on the NJSLA were. What we did was we created this over the summer, and it allowed us to do fall action. We started interventions as well as Rise and Shine 6 weeks earlier than we have in the past. So we were able to hit the ground running right away with our interventions, right away with our Rise and Shine, as well as with our Bubble Boost. We changed the way in which we provide our assessments. We're doing some of the assessments a little bit later in the fall because we're utilizing that spring data. We're having a period 0, we're calling it, so that all new students are constantly assessed so that we can provide them interventions if needed right away, or in some cases, gifted and talented services. And it just gives us more data in a more expedited fashion. And it allows us to provide these interventions more quickly. And they're set into cohorts so that we're having students receive intervention in cohorts of 10 weeks. Our multi-tiered system of student support, tier 1 is your classroom instruction in the center. As you move to the left, you have a tier 2, which is our bubble boost. That's during our win or what I need now period, when students who are just below passing on the NJSLA or are projected to score just below passing on the iReady benchmark receive intervention in ELA and math. Tier 3 would be a pull-out intervention during the school day in our win period or before school and rise and shine. On the reverse side, it is no longer a triangle, it's turned to a diamond. So tier 2 is additional in-class work for those students who are performing really well and might appear bored or behavioral. And then tier 3 is our twice a week pull out for gifted and talented instruction. So what do these look like in action? So a little bit from left to right. Is Christy in there? You're in there. So you can see our interventionist working one-to-one with a student who is Horton Gillingham trained. We now have 2 Horton Gillingham certified teachers, as well as having all of our first and second grade teachers receive Horton Gillingham classroom educator certificates over this year. In the center, you'll see our Rise and Shine, this is one of the first days. It grew from a handful of kids to now close to 50, but they're still receiving that instruction in a small group of less than 4. And then you see Ms. Stannis on the right providing intervention as well. So that's some of our tier 3 supports. And then I spoke a little bit about Bubble Boost, but it's a project that Mr. Parapato put on us to boost those kids ahead. And it was really to target those kids who were just below grade level. And what we noticed was, if you can see on the left graph, is that over 50% of the students who received that Bubble Boost jumped up from a projected level 3 or just below passing to a level 4 on their NJSLA. And we broke it down by grade level on the other side. You'll see some that performed really well and some that performed lower. We tried some different things. We tried small groups as well as we tried to do it in full group. What we found based on the data was that the whole group didn't work as well as the small group. And we were able to start the Bubble Boost early. That's something we started in late January, early February last year. And it's something now that we started at the beginning of October. Intervention for all. So that was one of our district goals last year, something we continued this year. That includes our family engagement nights. We had one last week that was very well attended. A lot of new faces. That's what I was most excited about. A lot of multilingual learner families there. We're lucky enough to have a good staff who are proficient in Spanish, who are able to translate. So whether you speak English or not, you're able to get that information and then able to provide those supports at home. You can see our win period, our what I need now. So every grade level has a different win period so that our interventionists are able to spread out and attack every grade level. We have 4 ELA interventionists and 3 math interventionists across the district. So we're able to service far more students, as well as on the other end of the spectrum, our gifted and talented has 2 sessions at each grade level each week. Some other overall things we're doing are, our district goals was to improve tier 1 instruction. We're doing that through our district-wide teacher clarity playbook book club, as well as through weekly administrative team meetings with each grade level, improving those tier 2 supports, which is through that bubble boost of small group instruction, as well as just more small group pull out in the classroom. Developing that portrait of the night, we're really starting to fine tune what were our expectations, K-2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and then improve our data practices, which you saw through our data wall. Another thing I'd like to highlight is, we saw our students with IEPs underperforming. We've adopted a 95 RAT, which is an Horton Gillingham multisensory approach for all of our multiply disabled classrooms in K through 8. So they're receiving a higher level of reading instruction. So 48 slides, less than an hour.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Yep, I was gonna say.
So last night I was at the Richfield Park meeting and they had the same presentation, 94 slides. And looking comparatively between Ridgefield Park and Little Ferry, a couple of takeaways. First one is that they were going through it, they had a bunch of questions and looking at their slides for starters, and I was coming through my phone, looking at the presentations comparatively. Couple of takeaways that they had, they reviewing their test scores and questioning why their scores in 7th and 8th grade were so much lower than 3 to 6 their district. Then questioning what the difference was at the high school, and then bringing up, is there a difference in the 9th grade when Little Ferry comes in, and how that comparatively makes a change when Little Ferry district comes into the high school, and how does that affect the test scores? And looking at it, we are way ahead of them in our schools. If you go on their site and pull up their scores and look at ours, we're exceeding them in almost every area. Looking at science in the 8th grade, where both districts are doing below average at the state level, we're beating them by more than 40% at the numbers. So looking at where we are as a district and looking comparatively amongst the state level, but here locally between us and at Ridgefield Park, where we share the same high school, I just want to say that we're doing a great job here amongst where we are with our own high school, we're sharing the same high school. We're doing a great job here in our K-8 school. I mean, looking at where we are test score wise, looking at where we are as a district, now we're constantly improving. And listen, the numbers are the numbers. We're constantly looking to improve every day, but looking at where we are with in the high school, where we're competing with other, not competing, but where we are with other classmates in the same high school, I think we do a great job. And the scores tell the story. I think we're doing a great job with our students. And then as we improve, I think that we should comparatively look at where we are with the other elementary schools in the near vicinity and see where we are and how we're performing. I think it's something that we should be looking at, because I think we're doing a great job here. Hats off to you, Mr. Dunn, and to the entire team. It's really a great story. So just want to share that. Thank you.
All right. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ferry. We'll now open it up to Mr. Gomez for the board secretary report.
Good evening, everyone. First thing I'd like to address facilities. Even though we're building a new wonderful facility, we're not neglecting this facility. So one thing we're working on is preparing to go out to bid in the winter to replace the unit ventilators in the rooms. They're quite old. We did go out for a comparison last year, and the numbers came in extremely high. So now we're going to go out to bid. So what affected it is almost every district in the state is doing unit ventilators for HVAC work. So now that those are mostly done, we should get a better number. Food service. So I'd like to share with you some of our numbers. So we don't have a profit and loss yet for September, but I know where this is going. So last year in Washington School, we served 2,718 meals. This September, we served 7,054 meals. Those are confirmed. So for Memorial, last year was 3,173 meals. That's breakfast and lunch together. This year we served 5,999. So they say the proof is in the pudding. So we're part of the National School Lunch Program. So we receive a subsidy from the federal government and state for every meal that we serve. Last year we received $16,171.73. This year's subsidy, $43,158.19. So I can't wait to see that profit and loss. So that's amazing. So
Great. It justifies the this board made to transition to this office.
and with the breakfast administration last spring really put an amazing effort in getting those numbers up, and they're amazing. I mean,
I'd also like to highlight that this board ensured that our lunch did not increase. So
Yes.
we are still at the $3.50 for lunch. And what is it for breakfast? So we did not increase our prices.
So the breakfast at Washington, last year was 227 breakfasts in September. This year was 2,900. So that was the efforts of our administrators.
Not only did we not increase the prices, we also added, well, that we okayed matches to add 2 additional employees to the service line to help expedite the process. With these kind of numbers, that it almost paid for it in September.
One, so, and in terms of enrollment, we have our preliminary numbers, snapshots taken on October 15th. Last year, just students in this building we had 809 on October 15th. This year we have 839, and that's not counting the 52 students at pre-K center. So that's good. For finance, we closed September. The streak is still alive. We did it in 13 days. We had a little luck. So next month, the board will see a board resolution to return $2.4 million back to the capital reserve. We've been using the capital reserve to pay for the preliminary cost of the project. Now, since we have all the money in place for the new school, we'll put back in the capital reserve, and it will be used mostly for the univents and other projects going forward, like the do things like that.
I think that's all we use for
Sure.
Mr. Gomez.
That concludes my presentation.
All right, we'll open it up to Ms. Bertoli for personnel. The personnel committee met on October 2nd. On the agenda for this evening, we're moving the hiring of part-time custodian, paraprofessional, ASD paraprofessional, and a part-time driver. Reason for the part-time driver is we're gonna use that person as a safety net. Should our current bus drivers pull out sick, have a day off, at least we have someone that is available to take over their route. In addition, Ms. Kroniak is retiring, like to congratulate her, which are very best while she's on her students and on her protection. Thank you, Mrs. Bertoli. Mrs. Villasuso for education.
Well, after Mr. Don amazing presentation, all I have to say is thank you for a job well done.
Great, thank you, Ms. Villasuso. Mr. Benelli for finance.
We didn't have a meeting. Mr. Gomez, pretty much discussed everything with finance.
Great. Mr. Mealy for policy.
Policy committee did not meet.
Mrs. Patel for transportation. Ms. Patoli was kind enough to give the update for that part-time driver. No other update to provide at this time. Great, and as far as expansion goes, I think we gave a comprehensive overview an hour ago. Mr. Voracek for the Borough Liaison Report.
Nothing new.
Mr. Feitros for Richmond Park Liaison Report.
There was a meeting, yesterday, they did the safe presentation that we had today for the, results of the test, student, testing. That's it.
And Mrs. Gottlieb for NJSBA Delegate Report.
Well, I'm not going, the rest of the board, Mr. Capano and Mr. Gomez are going down to the convention next week and share their knowledge with myself, board, and all of the other people in the building. And they should finish educational time.
Thank you, Mrs. Gottlieb. Before I open it up to public comment, I just want to add that we're adding a new item to agenda 123. Be it resolved, the Little Ferry Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby approves 3-day suspension with pay pursuant to NJSA 18A 6-8.3 of a custodial employee whose name is on file with the board. I'll now open it up for public comment on agenda items only. Then we'll take a block vote on F39 to F42, DO 154 to DO 174, P107 to P123, FA 11, C12 to C13. Do I have a motion? Motion. Second? Second.
All right, Mrs. Bertoli.
Yes.
Patel.
Yes.
Mr. Fycroft.
Yes.
Gottlieb. Mr. Mealy? Yes. Mr. LaSuso?
Yes,
Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Benelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Bradley?
I'm abstaining from DO 168, and all the rest are yes.
Thank you. Motion passed.
All right, we'll open it up for comments on non-agenda items. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? Second.
There you go.